If you've got a kiln, or you plan on getting a kiln, you're going to need kiln shelves. And this week, we're going to take a look at the advancers. When it comes to kiln shelves, there's a lot of things that can go wrong. Advancer does a great job of pretty much avoiding all of those things. And I couldn't be more excited than to talk about what some of those things are. Now the first thing I gotta say is that these kiln shelves were packed up extremely well. I would agree. Nothing was gonna get to these. Nothing was gonna break them. They showed up all in one piece, good to go. They also sent me 2 of these cookies, the glaze eraser, and a couple bottles of kiln wash. Now, if you've seen a kiln shelf, you know that they can be pretty thick. These babies are thin. They're real thin. These cookies are incredible. I can't wait to try these as well. They'll be great for little test tiles, test mugs. And this is what's going to grind off all of that glaze from our shelf. For the most part, you don't really have to kiln wash these. If you're using a clay like B-Mix or porcelain, clays that are susceptible to flecking, you will want to kiln wash these shelves. Flecking is basically when your clay is so vitreous that it sticks to the shelf and it chips as you pluck away your pot. And this doesn't happen just with advancers, this happens with normal shelves as well. So it's a good idea if you're using any sort of porcelain or B-Mix or super vitreous clay, you're gonna want to kiln wash your shelves. I will say that these advancers only require a really thin coat. They don't need a lot, so a little bit of wash goes a long ways. I didn't go too wild with the kiln wash. I applied 1 thin layer, let it dry, and then I applied a second layer, and that layer of kiln wash has lasted me multiple firings. And just for some perspective, here's a side-by-side of my Molite shelves compared to my advancers. You're going to save yourself almost twice the amount of space by using the advancer shelves. These come in weighing about 8 pounds, which is similar to the weight of a hollow core shelf. And then you'll see that these 3/8 normal shelves are almost 3 pounds heavier. So you're also going to save your back. One of the main reasons I was so excited to get advancers were for plates. Advancers do not warp, they do not sag. For hundreds of firings, these things will stay true. If you've ever fired a plate on a saggy shelf, that plate's going to get so hot at the peak temperature that usually it will sag and match the curvature of that shelf, but not with these advancers. And they couldn't have arrived at a better time because I've got a bunch of plates that I've been trying to glaze. A lot of pieces of pottery equipment are not the most ergonomic, and top-loading kilns are no exception. This is where advancers come in handy. They are so light, and it's just a lot less strain on your back when you gotta bend over and put it in that shelf, all the way at the bottom. These have definitely helped my back so much when back pain is something that I've dealt with for 4 or 5 years, so I'm always looking for ways to help the strain be a little bit less. They do advise you with these shelves to fire on a slow to medium speed. You don't want to go too fast because thermal shock is a real thing and you don't want to crash cool these shelves. Now this bottle was just a little bit too tall, and there really wouldn't have been a way around that. I would have had to reload my whole kiln or just figure out how to make up space. But with these shelves literally being half the size of a normal shelf, I made up for that difference, and now this bottle will be fine. Now that everything's all loaded up, I'll just set my settings. I fire to a medium speed, and I go to cone 5, and I do like an 8-minute hold, so it's basically a cone 6, but saves my elements a little bit. Since I have a 1227, I've got 3-inch brick, and this kiln tends to cool pretty slow. A little over a day after firing, and we're ready to unload. It wasn't surprising to me to see that everything fired perfectly. There were no warped bottoms, no saggy bottoms. Everything was great. I didn't have any glaze runs, but I did want to include some footage about probably why people buy these shelves, and it's because glaze literally is erased from these shelves. They are so dense. The porosity is less than 1%. So if you get glaze runs on these shelves, it literally peels off, and you can just scrape it away with this glaze eraser. This was the first thing that I ever knew about Advancer shelves, was that glaze runs were not a problem, and I couldn't believe it. It's actually kind of magic. I'm excited. Honestly, I'm excited for the day when I get a running glaze, because I know I'll be able to save my pot. I know I'll be able to save my shelf. That glaze is not going to penetrate into the actual material, the silicon carbide, and that alone is going to save you so much money and time. And just as I thought, we've got no warps, no flatware is warped, no shelves are warped. Something that's so great about being able to kiln wash these is that you never have to flip your shelves because they don't warp. Traditionally with shelves, if you're kiln washing, you gotta flip them every time to make sure the shelves don't warp. And then you run the risk of kiln wash flaking off into the tops of your pots from the bottoms of your shelves. But that is not an issue with these. You just kiln wash one side, you never gotta flip them. They're gonna stay true, they're gonna stay good. Go out and get yourself a pair of these Advancers. They are incredible. They've saved me so much time and money and backache, and I can't recommend them enough.